Okay, back a few months ago, I did a presentation during one of our staff meetings talking about how to bring video games in the classroom as a way of looking at inquiry in a slightly different way. And before we get into the second part of what we're going to be doing in class, I thought I'd go back and give you a quick primer on what we were talking about, at least as a way to review what we did in the first place. So when we started out, we were talking about the fact that when we think about bringing video games in the classroom, we're not talking about actually bringing in Galaga to play in the classroom. What I'm really talking about is taking some of the things that make video games as popular and as successful learning tools as they are, and trying to incorporate some of those ideas into our own practice, okay? And I use the example of Angry Birds. And the reason I use the example of Angry Birds is because Angry Birds does some things really, really well. For one, there's no doubt that it's addictive, okay? But it's addictive for a particular reason. You've got really kind of dynamic characters, and it's easy to play, and you've got lots of different places where you can play and different levels that you can choose from. And in fact, you don't have to choose a level based on where you are. You can choose it. You can go straight to the 6th level if you want to go that way. You can redo levels, redo tasks, and a whole lot more. And there's a plausible story in it, right? Well, as plausible as it can be. The birds have lost their eggs, and the piggies have stolen them. Okay. So all in all, you've got a great idea, and really it's easy, right? You pull back, you let go, the bird hits this structure, and if it can knock out the pigs that are in that structure, you win. The funny thing is, you start off winning a lot. If I were to let this video go on, you'd see that you would win and do it on the first shot 9 out of 10 times, especially if you've got any idea of how these video games work. Here it takes actually 2. Where you knock down the first 3 piggies, and there's the last one who goes, and then you take the next one up and you fire it off again. And if you do it really efficiently, you get more points. The funny thing is, as you move along and the levels become harder and harder, the opportunity for you to win becomes lower and lower. But, and I'm going to stop this here for just a second, I want you to see what happens at the end of each and every, if I can, each and every level. Because unlike a lot of games, what Angry Birds does is it gives you a choice at the end. Whether you fail or not, a screen comes up that looks a little bit like this one. Okay, now look at this for a sec. You can move on. You can go back to the beginning and check out all the levels that are available to you, or you can do it again. Okay, and that's really where the trick is, because as we have seen through psychological testing, we have to have a minimum of 20% success in order for us to move on all the time. Okay, so let's, you take your first shot with your first bird and you miss completely. Well, you can't get the job done with the last 2 you've got, so you hit reset. You do it and you don't get all 3 stars, or you don't get all the points you want, so you hit reset again and you try it again and again and again until you get it right. And it's addictive for that. It never gives you the feeling that you're actually failing. It gives you the feeling that you always have a potential success on the way. And you need that success, at least 20% of it, to keep you moving forward. So what does this all mean? Okay, well, we need to feel successful. There's no doubt, right? And, one of the things that, and I love using this as an example, we need to feel successful to the point, because it makes us come back and try again, okay? And a good example is the algorithm that Sheldon comes up with in the Big Bang Theory to actually make friends. I'm going to play you that clip one more time just so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. When we start off, he's not very successful. But
I'm curious, in the how well you know Sheldon section, what do you put for his favorite amino acid? Lysine. Damn it, I had lysine and changed it. Oh, good, you're just in time. I believe I've isolated the algorithm for making friends.
Sheldon, there is no algorithm for making friends.
Well, hear him out. If he's really onto something, we could open a booth at Comic-Con, make a fortune. See, my initial approach to Kripke had the same deficiencies as those that plagued Stu the Cockatoo when he was new at the zoo. Stu the Cockatoo?
Yes, he's new at the zoo.
It's a terrific book. I've distilled its essence into a simple flowchart that will guide me through the process. Have you thought about putting him in a crate while you're out of the apartment? Hello, Kripke. Yeah, Sheldon Cooper here. It occurred to me that you hadn't returned any of my calls because I hadn't offered any concrete suggestions for pursuing our friendship. Yeah, perhaps the two of us might share a meal together. Yeah, I see. Well, then perhaps you'd have time for a hot beverage. Popular choices include tea, coffee, cocoa. I see. No, wait, don't hang up yet. But what about a recreational activity? I bet we share some common interests. You tell me an interest of yours. Really? On actual horses? Tell me another interest of yours. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have no desire to get in the water, so I absolutely have to. Tell me another interest of yours.
Uh-oh, he's stuck in an infinite loop.
I can fix it. It's interesting, but isn't ventriloquism by definition a solo activity? Yeah. I mean, tell me another interest of yours. Is there any chance you like monkeys? What is wrong with you? Everybody likes monkeys. Hang on, Kripke. A loop counter and an escape to the least objectionable activity. Howard, that's brilliant. I'm surprised you saw that.
Gee, why can't Sheldon make friends?
All right, Kripke, that last interest strikes me as the least objectionable, and I would like to propose that we do that together. Tomorrow. Yes, I'll pay. All right, goodbye. All right. Time to learn rock climbing.
Okay, now the reason I use that, one, because it's funny, but more importantly, here's Sheldon stuck in a loop, can't get himself out of it, and all they had to do was find an escape for him, somewhere where he can reset, get his head back into gear, and find his way out. In a way, that's the part of a lot of our approaches to teaching that we don't give our students. We expect them to find that answer because we expect them to find something that we want them to find, rather than they're finding those things on their own. Okay, and that's where the whole idea of inquiry comes in. So, where do we stand with all this? Okay, well, first of all, we've determined that you need 20% minimally as a success rate in order for you to keep wanting to go to that activity again and try to figure things out. And the reason is success at a task gives you the same chemical reaction. It's the dopamine effect that a cup of coffee or a slab of chocolate would give you. It's a very pleasurable experience, and it also picks your brain up, gets it going, much better than monster drinks or that kind of thing when it comes to gaining up energy. So with that coming into mind, if you take in consideration that whole idea of getting that dopamine effect and Sheldon's need to find an answer, what we're really looking at is a series of things that we need to start incorporating in the way we get around to teaching our children. And you know this, it's just a case of seeing if you can pull it all together. The first thing is the process you go through to play the game is as important as the game itself. We know this from math, we know this from process writing, we know this from social studies and doing research projects and the like. There's got to be some intrinsic satisfaction from the learning, whether it's learning how to knock down things with birds, learning how to make friends, or learning how to multiply fractions. You got to feel it from the inside. It's got to be something you want to do. And success, according to studies, should be achieved at least 20% of the time. And that's where video games have really done a good job in pulling in our students. So what does that mean? Well, up until now, we've been told that backward design is the way for us to come up with various activities within the classroom, right? What we were told to do is to come up with where we wanted to go and then backwardly design all of our activities up to that point so that we can reach those goals. The problem is that students have no input. It's completely teacher-driven. What we need to do is start setting higher expectations with students predicting, monitoring, and self-reporting their learning. There's the intrinsic part, okay? With teachers providing opportunities for students to be more or less determining what their performance is going to be, coming up with success criteria, providing feedback on their own levels so that they can build that confidence, that 20% in taking on challenging tasks, and also to give an opportunity for us to scaffold that learning for kids in the class who may not be moving as far ahead as others. And to come up with some kind of way to prove that they're learning something that is not the kind of driver that we needed when we went through school, but make the task the driver for learning, where the teacher choreographs a learning experience. Basically, where the task becomes the reason for doing it, and that you're no longer teaching it, you're more or less coaching it. So where does that leave us? Well, here. This looks very familiar, but if you think about it from an inquiry base, okay, you need desired results, you need evidence of learning, and it's all part of the curriculum instruction. Well, if you go back to here, this provides it all for you. It's just a matter of a different mindset of how to get there. So you need a little bit of critical thinking here. Can you provide them with something that gives them a chance to assess or judge, give them possible options, relevant factors or criteria, have them generate options, various other things? Can you put them in a situation where they ask the right type of questions, especially those number 3 questions, that gets them thinking critically about the tasks they're doing? And more importantly, can you develop a strong critical thinking process to what they're doing in class? So in order to get us that way, I gave you a critical challenge. One that's asked you to develop a strong critical thinking, powerful inquiry question that will help both question and improve your practice and understanding of your students. All right, so what we're going to work on as a suggestion from administration is to look at how do you incorporate technology into your practice. But that's what we're going to use as an example. That's not necessarily what you want to do. We'll talk more about that when we do this in the staff meeting. All right. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes out to watch all of this, and I will get back to you with more information